Hello, homeschool friends. It's Sabrina here from Seven Sisters Homeschool.com. How's everybody doing? We're going to talk about high school research papers today. So we're going to give people a couple of minutes to get here and to get, in a comfy spot and ready to think about research papers. And if you get here, it would be really great if you typed a little comment in there and said, hello, because someone who comments during Facebook Live today is going to win free curriculum. Hi, Vicky! I see Vicky! This is like Romper Room. Well, okay, I just really dated myself really badly because Romper Room was a really long time ago. But they used to look through the special lollipop swirly thing at the end, and they would say, I see so-and-so, and I see so-and-so, so I see Vicky! And it's very nice to have one of my sisters here. This is, believe it or not, the first Facebook Live that we have done from Seven Sisters. So yeah, first time out, little antsy, a little excited. And it's research papers, which is a cool topic. Research papers are intimidating to some folks. And so what we're going to do here today is try to take a little bit of the intimidation factor out. And and wind that down to a real manageable level so that you feel like, yeah, okay, I can take this step and then I could take the next step. Because a lot of the things about homeschooling high school that feel intimidating are only intimidating because they're big and vague and nebulous. And when you get it into a step-by-step progression, all of that fear kind of takes care of itself and goes away. So actually, that is kind of the point of how our Seven Sisters writing guides for research papers try to approach the fear that a lot of teens have about writing a research paper. We try to take it out of that big, vague, overwhelming thing and put it into step by step. Okay, maybe you don't know how to do this, a 10-page paper, MLA style, but can we do this? Let's talk through step one. Let's talk through step two. So, all right, I'm just going to go ahead and roll things along here. I've got my little notes. I've also got my reading glasses. Sorry, glasses have to go on and off. First of all, for anybody who doesn't know, I'm Sabrina Justison. I am one of the 6 at SevenSistersHomeschool.com, where we are 20-plus year homeschool mom veterans. And all of the 6 of us have graduated all of our kids from homeschool. Some have gone on to college, some have gone into the workforce, and we create ebook curriculum available at SevenSistersHomeschool.com. And if you're wondering why I keep saying there are 6 of us at Seven Sisters Homeschool, because there's like a 7 in our name. So if you haven't heard this before, there are 6 of us, and when you join in, whether you're joining into a Facebook Live or whether you are chatting on the Facebook page or listening to the Homeschool High School podcast, which is ours, or reading the blog and entering into conversation there, whenever you engage with us, we want you to feel like you're part of the family. You're the 7th sister. So welcome. Okay, so 7th sisters are wonderful, and many of our 7th sisters are a little bit younger than we are and have not necessarily done a lot of homeschooling high school yet, and perhaps have not done research papers with high schoolers. And so we're going to try to give you some guidance in first understanding the purpose of and the priorities to consider in writing research papers with teens, helping them write research papers on their own, the older and the more independent they become. And then also to understand how to choose what type of research paper to write. There are a lot of different types. And so we're going to get into the specifics of the different types just a little bit farther into the Facebook Live. Okay, so first of all, I mentioned this once before, but yes, you have a chance to win free curriculum from Seven Sisters today. So make sure that you type a comment in if you join us. All right. So as we often like to remind you, there's not one right way to homeschool high school. There's not one right way to teach teens how to write in high school. There's not one right way to write research papers when you are a teen in high school. And so it's important to give yourself permission, first of all, to say, okay, we don't have to get this right, because there isn't one right way to do this. The important thing is that you do it. You do it somehow, and you keep working on it during high school, and you don't let your kid graduate without getting some really good experience writing research papers. And there's a lot of reasons why. First of all, a research paper is a chance for a student who is a teenager who is rapidly approaching adulthood. Writing a research paper is an opportunity for that student to own that educational experience, to choose a topic of interest, to have to look at a big project and figure out how am I going to break this down into manageable steps, to dig deeply into a topic that actually interests your teen. You know, you don't have to make research writing a dry, boring, overwhelming assignment. It doesn't have to be something where they're writing on a topic that they don't even like to begin with, but somebody assigned it to them. Research writing for teens is best done when the teen has some say in what that topic for writing is going to be. Because if you give a teen a topic about which he or she is already interested, then that motivation to plug through a long and complicated process is much more natural. It's going to come from them because they're already interested in what they're doing. Oh, I see. Let's see. I see Crystal. Hi, Crystal. I need a condensed version of this. Definitely tried, but logging off, checking it out later. That's cool. I gotcha, and it'll be there. There will be some notes that will have some of it condensed too, but it's a big topic, so we're going to dive into some of the details. Research writing is also an academic stretch for teens, and that's important. We have subjects all through high school, some of which are natural and come easily to our students, and some of which are really difficult. For one kid, the lab sciences are just great, fun, wonderful, and they come very naturally, and for another kid, it's really a stretch. That's okay. Every teen is gifted slightly differently. For some of them, writing is easy. They're natural writers, they enjoy it, and even so, research writing may be different, may be a little bit tricky because of the specific rules that go along with it. But for a natural writer, it's not going to be as intimidating. For a reluctant writer, and some of our kids, if we're honest about it, really struggle with writing. For those kind of kids, it's going to be a real stretch. And we want to make it into a process that they can tackle in manageable pieces instead of just some big overwhelming thing that makes them feel like it's a failure from the starting line. So it should be an academic stretch, but for our reluctant writers in particular, we don't want to make it an overwhelming academic stretch. Writing research papers provides college skills. For any of our college-bound teens, they are going to write papers and more papers in college. And if they've done quite a bit of it already in high school and have tried different styles of papers, then once they're in college, they will already be comfortable with the format piece of it and with the idea of following the directions that are specific to each style. And they will then be able to focus on the content of their papers. As I've mentioned, this is a long project. It's a big project, and it has to be broken into manageable steps. And that right there is a life skill, not only for research paper writing, but for all kinds of other things. It's also an exercise in following directions. There's not a lot of room for just write the paper however you want. If your teacher says MLA, there's a set of rules that didn't come from the teacher. They came from some higher authority out there in research writing land who decided exactly what MLA style means. And they have to follow those detailed directions, whether they totally understand why or not. If the citations are to be done a certain way, they don't have to understand why, but they do have to practice following those directions. Decision making. You're choosing a topic, and then you're choosing the style for the writing on that topic. And this is a good chance for teens to sort of weigh their different options and to evaluate pros and cons. And let's see, there are multiple styles that they should give a try at different points in high school, lining it up with the academic subject or the style of learning that then is best going to be captured in that type of research paper. So let's talk about the different kinds. And there are 3 kinds that we're going to focus on for this Facebook Live because these are the 3 that are the most common. They're the ones that your teens probably most need experience with in high school. So one is MLA. And the MLA style paper is one that most of us remember writing if we did any writing in college. You have a thesis statement, an opinion, or an idea that you lay out right at the beginning in the intro paragraph. And from that point, everything in your paper is providing support for that thesis statement, for that idea or that opinion. It's really kind of like a giant essay. So if you have a student who's done quite a bit of essay writing, and it's been 5 paragraphs or maybe a bit longer, and then they're going to do a research paper that needs to be 5 pages or 7 pages or 10, a really good jumping off point from essay writing then takes you to MLA style research writing. Now, typically MLA papers are not used in the sciences, and we're going to get to the type that does fit better with sciences then. But lots of other things tied to literature, to history. These are things that lend themselves really well to presenting an opinion and then providing lots of support. In an MLA style paper, you have to write transition sentences. The same way that in an essay, there needs to be a connection from one paragraph to the next, even as you are changing your subject. This paragraph is dealing with one specific thing, the next with another, but you need to tie them together with those transitions, and the same is true in an MLA style paper. And then there's going to be a specific style for doing your citations and your bibliography. And those rules actually change fairly frequently. And that's where the internet comes in as a wonderful tool, because you can look up the current MLA style and formatting requirements and make sure that you're doing those in the most current form. So another kind of paper, if you're not going to do the MLA, and in particular if you are writing a research paper that ties to one of the sciences, an APA style paper is what you want to choose there. These are very commonly written in college, and they are sort of a no-nonsense type of paper. It's sort of a just the facts, ma'am kind of thing. And for these types of papers, you're going to end up with a paper that is not as flowy, but it's more separate chunks, and there are actually section titles that are used for each section of the paper, rather than linking them with transition sentences. So you don't have a thesis statement in an APA style paper. You don't start with that opinion that you're now going to support. You just start with, this is the topic that we're studying, and there will be all kinds of data that will describe and explain the topic, but it is not designed to support an opinion on the topic. There may be some sort of opinion expressed at the very end of an APA style paper in the conclusion, but there is not that same essay feel of, this is what I've said and here's why I'm saying it and why I think you should agree with it too. Instead, you are exploring and examining and describing and providing data that explains about the topic. The APA style paper, if the MLA ends up looking kind of like a giant essay, the APA style paper ends up looking kind of like a giant magazine article. And you know how you have those subheadings in a magazine article so that you can scan down and see the next subtopic. So you don't have to do the transition sentences, and you end up with something that looks rather like a magazine article. A third type of paper, and this is one we're really excited about at Seven Sisters, because tomorrow morning a brand new piece of curriculum is coming out, and you can get it for writing a Chicago style research paper, also called a Turabian sometimes. And the Chicago style paper is it's what I remember fondly writing a lot of, because I had a college major that was in the humanities. Typically these fall in line with the kind of subject areas that we would call the humanities. And by the way, let's just be real. What are the humanities anyway? Okay, just going to define it for you. How people document human experience. So that's going to be English, all that writing-y kind of stuff. That's going to be historians documenting things. That's also going to be art capturing the human experience. It's going to be music. It's going to be all kinds of things that capture the human experience and document it. So those types of subject areas make a good fit for a Chicago-style research paper. Now these are the research papers that, if you remember from back when there were typewriters instead of word processors, these were very taxing because you had to do the little superscript number in the text where you were writing, and then at the bottom of that page you had to manually create a footnote that had that little number that you had superscripted up in the text, and then it gave the source where that came from. And so there was this constant balancing act back when it was like real paper in a typewriter, where you had to leave enough room at the bottom of your page for the footnotes, but you couldn't leave too much room, or then you weren't filling your page with the amount of text that was supposed to be there. So formatting was really difficult. Well, word processors have made that just a non-issue anymore. So the actual how to create a superscript and how to put in the footnotes part is so much easier for research writers now. But understanding the process in creating a well-written Chicago-style research paper is still something that requires many steps and a lot of attention to detail. A Chicago-style paper does have a thesis statement in the same way that an MLA does, so you are taking an initial position, expressing an opinion or an idea, and then your material is going to support that throughout. There are options for Chicago style as to whether you use transition sentences from one section to the next or whether you use section titles. And again, there are online style manuals that will keep you current on what the rules are for exactly how it gets formatted so that it will be correct. This is sometimes called an NB style paper, and that stands for Notes and Bibliography. That as you read through the paper, there are these notes, these footnotes, where you can immediately see where that quote was drawn from, or where that statistic came from, where that data that's being referenced originated. And so you can, at a glance, as you're reading, see that the research was done correctly, that these are reputable sources. And then when you get to the end of the paper, there's a comprehensive bibliography giving all of the information at a glance. So a Chicago-style paper is one that is it's sort of a paper that proves the worthiness of the research that was done by the person who wrote it. It, at a first read, is showing that this person did not just sit down and write in a corner somewhere whatever came out of their head, but that they actually have read respectable sources and have analyzed it and have looked at that data and are willing to tell you this came from here and this is the person who said this and this is the expert in the field who shared this data in this book. So it's a very respectable type of paper to write. Okay, so if we're kind of summing up those three different styles, if you're writing an MLA style paper, that's going to be kind of a glorified essay. If you have a kid who is not great at essay writing, then writing an MLA style paper is going to be harder than a kid who is great at essays. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't do it. In fact, they should at some point in the high school journey. But if you have a kid who struggles with essay writing, perhaps the first research paper that they write their freshman year should be an APA style paper instead. That might be a gentler introduction to that big writing project. Then we have APA, which is a good fit for the sciences. It is a no-nonsense, just the facts ma'am kind of approach. It doesn't call for transition sentences. It does not have a thesis statement. And then you have the Chicago style, which is a very clearly documented paper that shows the research that went into it, and it fits well with the humanities. And all three of these styles of papers require a lot of time to write. They cannot be done in one sitting. They cannot even be done in a day or two. They need time. And one of the things that we like providing in Seven Sisters Homeschool.com research writing guides is a good framework to help students break that process down into small pieces and to time themselves, to pace themselves so that they can reach that deadline without crunch time craziness, without pulling an all-nighter. Those kinds of stresses do not make for good writing. So if you are looking for something to help your teens through that process, our conversation style instruction in our writing guides tends to be very teen friendly. We've had a lot of success over the years with kids who are natural writers and kids who struggle with writing. If you're not sure what you're looking for and you're not even sure your child's level of comfort with writing for a research paper, download a freebie. Go to sevensistershomeschool.com, go to the ebook store, go to the freebies section, and there you will find that Vicki Tillman has created a research paper writing guide for reluctant writers. And it is a great place for your teen, your 8th grader, 9th grader, struggling 10th grader, to get their feet wet with this research writing process, to make that jump from an elementary school style report into the research and then the pulling together and synthesizing of what you've learned and then the putting it into the format of a research paper. So there's a freebie there for you. For our other 3 guides, MLA style, APA style, and Chicago style, coming new tomorrow morning, each of those guides is $12.99. They download in PDF format immediately to your device right after purchase. And you can print them out and put them in a binder if you like to turn paper pages. That's okay too. There are grading rubrics included in each of our research paper writing guides to help you as mom to figure out how to grade. And we just want to encourage you to remember, again, not one right way to tackle this. It needs to be tackled for sure, but there are a lot of different ways to come at it. So consider your students' previous experience with writing. In what areas are they strong? In what areas do they struggle? That's one of the things to consider when choosing what type of research paper to write at what time. What academic subject is this tying into? Is this something that is more in the sciences realm? Is this something that's more in the humanities realm? So consider the academic subject. Consider the student's favorite. If this is a kid who has a really difficult year where there are a lot of hard classes, that might be a good year for the research paper that you assign to be their favorite writing style, rather than the one that is going to be the biggest stretch for them. If instead you realize that your kid is getting close to graduation and hasn't yet conquered this transition sentence thing, and it's tough, do it now. Do it before they're out of high school. Do it before they go to college. Build that skill set so that by the time they've graduated and they move on, they feel equipped to handle following the directions and thinking through the process that goes into research writing. So if you have thoughts and questions about research writing, put them here, put them anywhere on the Seven Sisters Homeschool Facebook page. If you like the podcast, the Homeschool High School podcast, you can put questions about research paper or share ideas of things that have worked well for your teen. You can come over to the blog at sevensistershomeschool.com and you will find a wonderful introductory post there about Chicago style papers. That's the new guide that's coming out tomorrow morning. Oh, and I almost forgot to tell you. So it's a new guide, and we like to do something special for all of you when we bring something new out for you to try. So for 72 hours, beginning at 12:01 Saturday morning Eastern Time. So for the weekend, for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, for the first 72 hours, the Chicago Style Research Writing Guide will be half price. You don't need a coupon code. It will just come up as $6.50 when you go to check out. So if you need a research paper writing guide and you need to save money, this is your weekend for 72 hours, half price. So yes, and for the next, from now until tomorrow at 3 p.m., we'll still allow people to put comments here on the Facebook Live, and that will enter you for a chance to win a free Your Choice research writing guide from sevensistershomeschool.com for either MLA, APA, or Chicago style. So hopefully this has taken some of the fear out of research writing for your homeschool high schooler. And if you have thoughts to share, we really value hearing from you because homeschooling works so much better when we do it together, when we link arms, when we look out for one another, and when we offer suggestions and ways to avoid pitfalls and encourage each other. So thank you for being here. I think I'm going to wrap this up and sign off. And look for more Facebook Lives because Seven Sisters is going to begin offering them on different topics once a week. So keep your eyes open for that in your Facebook feed. Thanks for being here. and we'll see ya. Bye.